Go ahead and stand up for a second. Find something nearby you can hold onto if you need it. A counter, a wall, a chair back. Then lift one foot off the ground and see how long you can hold it. 10 seconds. That's all. Researchers tracked 1,700 adults for 7 years and found that the people who couldn't hold that position for 10 seconds were nearly twice as likely to die from any cause within the following decade. Not because the test is dangerous, because what those 10 seconds are actually measuring, the health of your nervous system, your muscles, your entire ability to stay upright and move through the world, tells a story about your body that most standard health checks miss completely. Most people hear that statistic and file it away. But the real story underneath it is this. Balance is the single fastest declining physical quality after 50. It drops faster than strength, faster than cardiovascular fitness, faster than almost anything else your doctor measures. And most people don't notice until it's already significantly gone. Stay with me, because there's a second part to this story, and it's the part that actually matters. Balance doesn't decline the way most people imagine. Not gradually, not evenly across decades. After 50, it starts dropping sharply. Researchers at Mayo Clinic looked at every major physical quality that changes with aging: strength, walking speed, grip force, knee power, and found that single-leg balance declined faster than all of them. About 2 seconds of holding time per decade on your non-dominant leg alone. 2 seconds a decade doesn't sound like much until you do the math. In your 40s, most people can hold a one-leg stance for close to a minute without thinking about it. By your 70s, the average is around 26 seconds, and by 80, most people are well below 10. Why does it fall off so fast? Because balance isn't one system. It's 3, running simultaneously. Your inner ear, detecting how your head moves in space. The nerve receptors in your feet and joints, feeding your brain a constant map of where your body is positioned. And your vision, compensating when the other 2 start to slip. After 50, all 3 begin losing sensitivity at the same time, and the brain loses its ability to blend their signals as cleanly as it used to. The margin for error shrinks, and it keeps shrinking, quietly, every year. Here's the problem. Most of that decline is invisible until something forces you to notice it. You don't wake up one morning and realize you've lost 8 seconds off your balance time. You just start making adjustments. You reach for the wall when you didn't used to. Then you start hesitating at the top of stairs. Just for a moment, just to be sure. Then you stop walking on certain surfaces, in certain shoes. Then you stop going certain places alone because the footing might be uneven, and who would help if something happened? Each adjustment feels sensible. Each one feels like caution, but each one is a small piece of your world getting quieter. I want you to think about where that leads, not in the abstract, in the specific. The person who used to get on a plane by themselves and go somewhere new, who used to walk out their front door and move through the world without running a calculation first, who used to say yes to an invitation, a concert, a weekend away, a long afternoon out, and now quietly asks, "Can I do this safely? What if something happens? Do I need someone with me?" That's not a dramatic fall. That's not a broken hip or an ambulance. That's something smaller and in some ways harder. The slow narrowing of a life lived on your own terms. One sensible adjustment at a time, and it almost never announces itself as a balance problem. It just feels like getting older. It doesn't have to go that way. The research on this is unambiguous, and it's genuinely one of the more encouraging things I've come across in this area. Researchers in Beijing took 124 adults, average age 84, and split them into 2 groups. One group did home-based balance and strength work 3 times a week for a year. The other continued their normal routines. At the end of 12 months, fall risk in the exercise group had dropped from 44% down to 25%. The control group barely moved, 84 years old, and they cut their fall risk nearly in half. The body doesn't stop responding to training. Most people just stop giving it the stimulus. So what does 10 minutes actually look like? 3 movements. You can do all of this in your kitchen or living room with nothing but a counter or a wall within arm's reach. Start with the supported single leg stance, which, if you took the test at the beginning of this video, you've already done once today. Stand next to a counter, lift 1 foot off the floor, and hold. On day 1, you might manage 5 seconds. That's fine. You're not training for a performance. You're asking 3 systems: your inner ear, your nerve receptors, your visual system, to start coordinating again under a demand they've been quietly avoiding, each leg twice through. That's your first movement. I want to say, hold it for as long as you can each time. Let me walk that back slightly. Don't push to failure in the first week. Hold to the edge of comfortable, note where you are, and let the duration build naturally over days and weeks. The nervous system responds to consistent, progressive challenge, not to grinding through one maximal effort and then avoiding it for 3 days because your ankle aches. From there, move to tandem standing. One foot placed directly in front of the other, heel touching toe, and hold that position for 10 seconds. Then switch which foot is in front. It sounds easy. The first time you try it, you'll realize it isn't. This one specifically trains your side-to-side steadiness, the first thing to go when someone actually starts to fall. And the last piece of the routine is eyes closed standing. Both feet on the floor, shoulder width apart, arms at your sides, eyes closed. 30 seconds. This one removes the visual compensation your brain has been quietly relying on to cover for the other two systems. Close your eyes, and you force your inner ear and your foot receptors to do the work themselves. It's uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is the training signal. Those 3 movements, rotated through twice, take about 10 minutes. Consistent practice, 3 times a week minimum. That's the prescription that produced the results we just talked about in people in their mid-80s. The one thing that kills those results before they have a chance to build? Stopping too soon or never making it harder. To keep improving, the challenge has to keep growing. So once the supported single leg stance starts feeling manageable, you're holding 15, 20, 30 seconds without reaching for the counter, you take the support away. Stand next to the wall, but don't touch it. Let your body solve the stability problem without the safety net. Then progress to longer holds. Then to slightly uneven surfaces. A folded towel under your foot. A thin cushion. Each layer puts a new demand on the same 3 systems, and the systems respond. Same progression with the eyes closed standing. Once 30 seconds feel stable, add a slow head turn, look left, look right, back to center, while your feet stay planted. That targets the inner ear specifically, which tends to be the weakest link in the chain by the time people reach their 60s and 70s. It's a small addition. The challenge it creates is not small. Okay, how quickly does any of this actually show up? Faster than most people expect. Across the balance training research, meaningful improvements in both how steadily you stand and how steadily you move consistently appear within weeks of regular practice. Not months, weeks. People who couldn't hold the 10-second test at all when they started are often past it inside a month. People who were at 10 seconds are pushing 20 or 30. And this connects to something that doesn't get talked about enough. The gains aren't only physical. One of the most consistent findings in balance training research is an improvement in fear of falling, independently of whether measurable fall risk actually changed. People feel steadier. They stop running the silent calculation before they decide to go somewhere. They start saying yes to things they'd been quietly saying no to. Pay attention to that, because it connects directly back to what we were talking about earlier. The slow accumulation of sensible adjustments, reaching for the wall, hesitating at the top of stairs, skipping certain trips because the footing might be uneven. That process runs in reverse too. Restore the balance, and those adjustments start unwinding. Not all at once, but one by one, and the world gets a little wider again. That's what 10 minutes a day is actually building toward. One thing that makes this easier to sustain than most people expect, it fits inside time you already have. The few minutes while coffee brews, the wait at the kitchen counter while the kettle boils, standing in line somewhere, shoes on, nothing in your hands. Those moments are already there. The exercises just fill them. You don't need a block of dedicated time. You need to decide what those in-between minutes are for. That small shift is what separates a routine that sticks from one that doesn't. So here's where I want to leave you. Go back to that test from the beginning of this video. Stand up, find your support, lift one foot, and hold. Note how long you got this time, and whether it was different from when you did it cold, before we talked about any of this. Write it down. The date, the number, which leg was harder. That's your starting line. 1 month from now, come back to it. Think about where you want to be a year from now. Not in terms of a fitness number, in terms of a life, the things you want to keep doing without planning around them, the places you still want to go on your own terms, the version of you that walks out the door and moves through the world without running the calculation first. That version doesn't require anything dramatic. It requires 10 minutes, 3 times a week, consistently enough that the system gets the message. Balance is trainable. At every age the research has looked at, including well into the 80s. What it requires is simply asking the body to do the work, and not stopping asking. If this video was useful, please share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe if you haven't. There's a lot more of this kind of content coming.